So Mary, how's your foot?
Doing good. Yeah, what do you shoot?
Chair here, I have another chair over there if you want.
We're still too lucky again. I know, I think I'm gonna.
One thing to start off, I've been asked before, and I'll go ahead and advise, there still at this time is an Illinois executive order in place. Even though we are in phase 3, all gatherings of 10 or fewer people are allowed, but over 10 people is not allowed. We have more than 10. You're also supposed to have social distancing of at least 6 foot between parties if possible. The people who are here who want to observe, if they can go ahead and try to basically observe the at least 6 foot distance. Also by executive order, all people who are over the age of 2 to 2.5 are to wear a mask in public. Those requirements would go on with a public meeting pursuant to the previous executive orders which were entered and also which have been reinstated. And so at this time, if anyone's here and continues to stay and they're in violation, we're making that be put on notice so that they're aware. That is the requirement of the executive order. I think with that, we're ready to start the meeting.
Okay. They're not going to leave and they're not going to put masks on, I guess.
So it's fine. We have the videotapes and to basically acknowledge at this point that they decided at this time not to put on masks. Have not decided to to lower the number and have not decided to space more than 6 foot. So we can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, Marvin?
Okay, roll call, guys, we have to take this down, because we got to have a hearing. Carolyn Jansen,
Present.
Danny Jacks,
Yes.
Derek Shorman,
Yep.
Mary Lily,
Yes.
Jane Melnick,
Yes.
Michael, absent. Sherry Engelbart,
Yep.
Margaret Maxwell Utter, here. That's it, Chairman.
Yeah, that's fine.
And, okay, minutes, guys, we've got 2 sets there. If there's no corrections, first do the regular minutes for the May 4th meeting. If there's no corrections, I will need a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Danny, okay. I need a second.
Second.
Derek, okay, here we go. Roll call. Danny,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Michael absent. 4-0, motion carried. Okay, we have another one for the executive minutes. Same order, no corrections or anything. We'll roll call again.
I'll make it.
All right, Jane seconds. Derek made it. Okay, here we go. Roll call. Derek,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Michael absent. Danny,
Yes.
motion carried. Okay, bills payable. Same as before, the only thing, I just received the Norris bill. It was for $387.51. We used 4,298 kilowatts. We got $121.56 credit on the solar panels. So that will bring that total to, the sewer one would be $767.18 is the total for that sewer. The total sewer. If not, if it's all right, any questions, go.
Yeah, the
Go
water
ahead.
meter, we finally had to buy a new water meter reader?
Yes.
The new water
The
meter?
new rider.
Yes, the reader, the new reader.
Oh, the new reader, yes.
Yes, yeah.
If you remember earlier in the year when they had a confrontation with the dog that he hit the dog with it,
Yep.
well, it finally went kaput.
And then,
Uh,
new blades for Bruce's mower, I'm assuming already? New lawnmower blades?
Yes, for the
Yeah.
deer, yeah. I didn't know what you were flipping around on the meter,
Did
buddy.
we just buy an extra set, or?
Yeah, we have an extra set, so we have 2
That's fine.
sets for each mower
I
now.
wasn't sure.
Okay.
Go ahead and pay him, Margo.
Okay, you made the motion, Derek made it, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Danny's gonna second. Okay, here we go, roll call. Mary,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Michael absent still. Danny,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
5-0, 4-0, motion carried, approved. Sherry's up.
I did another pour the one, since you said what color, you read how many license runs.
We can go ahead, for the people who just came in, we're at this time, we're in phase 3, which is the recovery, but that still has a requirement that says all gatherings of 10 people or more are not allowed, specifically. And then also, still by executive order, there's to be 6 foot distance, there's to be the requirement that anyone who's over the age of 2.5 is to wear a face mask. We've made these restrictions and notices public earlier today in our meeting, so that people are at least aware that they continue to stay. Then they're basically advised that they are potentially in violation of Executive Order 2020-38.
Okay, Sherry, proceed.
Okay, on the report, I just want to draw your attention to the motor fuel tax on the left-hand side. We did receive some funding from the state there with the stars to rebuild. It said number 1 installment, so I'm not sure if we'll get more for the tax, because the period was from July of 19 until May of 20. So we'll just have to see how it goes. We do have to track that money separately, so that's the reason it's listed out in a separate line. And then in the general fund checking right below that, we received money from Ameren there as well with the stars on it. So we noted that separate just so we could refer back to that. Other than that, there's no big changes in that report. The other thing I handed you was the changes for the water that we approved at the last meeting. And I just wanted you to have a copy of that so you can refresh or remind yourself as to what it is. And then it also has the new commercial rate that we set up for the businesses.
Got any questions, guys?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yes, you're up, Dave.
Well, we'll go through the old business first and,
Okay.
so, did get some prices on rock for doing the roads. And what I didn't ask, Lyle, I guess I can ask you this now. The use of that box to spread the gravel, what's the cost on that? I forgot to ask you that.
That's all figured in on rock price.
Oh, okay. All right, so we have a price on white rock and on pea gravel. And the white rock is just a few bucks more a ton than the pea gravel, but I need you guys' okay on which one to get. So, what do you guys want? Pea gravel or white rock? White rock would have stayed, but yeah, it gets broke up quicker, but pea gravel rolls off the road, we all know that.
Montrose, maybe get the white rock themselves. I mean, it's a little bit.
It's a little dusty at first, but once it gets rained on a couple times, it's okay. What do you guys think?
Yeah, go ahead.
White rock?
Do we need, well,
We don't need to.
motion, we're just gonna go with white rock. I think it's $33 a ton. Something.
Yes, that's what it says here.
Yeah, so you get your minutes? Good, boy, are you gonna play, keep me along here.
Okay.
Okay, white rock or,
Yeah. And we decided that we're going to do about 2 miles of road. That includes the park roads. Okay?
I think all of it or just the main part?
All the way around the park.
We're gonna go all the way around the park.
It's 8/10 of a mile, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're gonna do it.
that is, if they decide to cancel the Centennial, because for the burnout pit, they don't want us to oil the roads because tires will pick up the rock and throw it here, there, and yonder. So, and I haven't really talked to Pupper yet. I left a message for him, but anyway, he hasn't gotten back to me. We're thinking that when he does township out here, he's going to do, he'll do us too because he's right here with all the equipment and everything. That would be July 20th, I believe, if I remember right. So, okay, as soon as I find out from Pupper.
Let's do the park and pea gravel, not in White Rock. There's no reason to spend the extra money out there on the White Rock. Is that a problem for you, Lyle?
all right, so we're amending this now.
Yes. There's really no reason to spend the extra money out there.
Pea gravel around the park,
Yep. And
around
Clay.
lake.
Are we doing Clay's Road? Part of Clay's Road?
Yeah, part of it.
That'd be pea gravel too.
Okay.
I would.
Um,
Because I don't think we've ever put White Rock on it. We have in town, but we've never done that road in White Rock. It's always been pea gravel, I think.
Yeah, no, here's tonight. No, and then we want white rock throughout town.
Yeah. Or well, whatever we're doing. The other mile of Oldville.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right.
It won't be that big a deal. I mean,
No.
If they gotta start off with half a load of white rock, it's fine, you know, there's no reason, you know, if there's a little bit left on the truck when they get there, there's no reason to dump that little bit off, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and was it you or you were talking about, is there a cracked gravel that you could use? Was it you, Lyle, was telling me that?
They have a crushed gravel.
Or crushed gravel?
It's higher, yeah.
Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay. I guess we're gonna get a dumpster again this summer for people to clean up stuff around their houses and yards and get rid of the big things that they don't know or doesn't have the equipment to get rid of. And are we gonna do it this month or next month? What do we choose? June?
You said June, but
Well, we can do it July. And our question was where we were gonna put it. If we were gonna be able to get a hold of Kevin, if we could put it across from Danny's house, right? Where it used to be.
Kevin don't know that, we do.
Okay, well then, go in. Okay.
Yeah, if we put it over there where we used to put it all the time, across from your house, the guys don't like it up here because they dump a bunch of stuff and then it falls on the drive out here and you got nails and screws and who knows what else, so we put it over there.
All right, will you guys tell me, figure out a date so that we can order it? When do we want it at the end of June?
Well, if it stays dry like this so people can get out and do something, yeah, let's shoot for, what is it, 27?
I mean, look. Yeah,
Why don't I shoot for that weekend?
all right. June 26th.
Do we need to send out a postcard?
yeah. Well, not that it does any good, yeah.
Well, it does some good, damn good thing was overflowing.
Well, that's for one person, I think.
Is that right, sure? 26, 27, 28, right?
Yeah.
And the same size as we had before?
Yeah.
The big one?
Whatever, I don't even know what
Yeah,
that
biggest
is.
one they got.
I think it was like
Was
positive.
it the big, I don't know.
Yeah, it was the biggest one they got.
Okay.
Whatever we had last time, Kelly.
Yep.
Matt will remember.
Okay.
Okay, we're all satisfied on that?
Yes.
We were talking about painting the roof out of the shed, or on the shed at the sewer plant and the little pavilion. And we still haven't found anybody for that yet. So, we're gonna have to table that until the next time and hopefully we'll find somebody that can do that. And, Richard Poe's property, the trailer and everything, that stuff is still in limbo. We're waiting for the judge to make a decision one way or the other.
I can address that quickly.
She had called me and I'm Richard Pope's attorney in his divorce case. Not in this matter, but in his divorce case. So I advised her if there was a situation where there was an ordinance ticket filed or anything of that nature, I'd have a conflict. We'd be representing either Mr. Poe or the municipality, but Mr. Poe's case is public record. Case is completed, and at this time, the court is to make a ruling concerning which property will be awarded to Mr. Poe and what property will be awarded to Mrs. Poe. And so at this time, with the Montrose property, it's not determined who is going to be awarded that property. But I advise that since that's public record, once that order is entered and it's clear who the court's going to order as the owner, that I would advise the mayor.
Wonderful. It's starting to look very crappy. It's looking very crappy.
Been looking very crappy for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll have to just wait and see what happens there. The electric repairs at the bathrooms out there at the park, Steve's gonna do, and Steve's gonna start working for Steve Browning on the 8th of June, next week, next Monday. He was going to start this work, this week, and he had to end up babysitting, so, because the babysitter, I don't remember what the deal was, but anyway. So he'll start next Monday, and he's been working on that out there. on his own time or whenever he gets around to working on it. And they can't figure out if there's a broken wire in the ground somewhere or what the deal is, but they're gonna figure, or Steve will figure it out. And Wabash has been kind of out helping us with their probes and stuff that they have. So, yeah, it's been a group effort, we just haven't got it all figured out yet. He's gonna have to put a bigger breaker in, and I think the breaker that runs like everything out there when they have the tractor pull, we're gonna have to replace that one, I think. I don't think that one's heavy duty enough anymore. And I guess that's all the old business, unless somebody else has some old business that they want to bring up that I'm not aware of.
So we hiring, Steve then for 3 days a week, or is that right?
He wants to work 3 days a week, maybe 4 hours a day.
How many? 4? Okay, that's fine. He
As
can
long as
choose
he's
what he
doing the
wants.
stuff, as long as he's doing the stuff that we would normally have to hire out for
Right.
an electrician to come in,
Mhm.
because he is an electrician.
Right.
So, yeah,
Perfect.
perfect. And then, if the boys need help mowing or weed eating, he can do that too, that's not a problem. New business, we need to discuss and approve the annual appropriation ordinance for 2020, number 467.
Copies of it, do you? Did I give you guys copies of it? No, it's our
No.
annual appropriation, guys. I have a couple copies, if you guys want to look at them. Yeah, give one to Andrew. I'm just gonna need one back and then one on it. Just how much. And Troy did the numbers.
What we do when it comes to the number usually is we adjust for less than 5%. If it is a adjustment of over 5%, then you have a truth in taxation. We have to have specifically a special hearing. And so what we've done with the numbers is historically, the numbers have been adjusted as needed, but always under the 5%.
You guys got any questions or just looking at it?
Pass it.
Sign the last couple of pages.
Margot, I made a motion.
Oh, Derek made, I didn't even hear it, sorry. I wasn't paying attention. Motion to approve the annual appropriation ordinance number 467 for the 2020 fiscal year. Made by Derek. Danny.
I'll second it.
Danny's in a second. Roll call. Jane?
Yes.
Mike was absent. Danny?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
4-0, motion carries.
I got a seal on that sign before you.
Okay. You're back up.
All right, this is kind of old business, but we haven't talked about it for a little bit because kind of wanted to see if USDA would come across with some grant money to buy a new pickup or a new truck with a blade on it for pushing snow. And I haven't heard anything from them because this crazy virus, nothing is working anyway. So I'm wanting to know if you guys would go along with the idea of us just go out and buy it ourselves, like we did the other truck. Then if anything comes through them, we can put that toward the balance. What do you think?
It's not good enough for town, but it's good enough for township to use?
No,
Yeah,
what do you mean?
it's been seen down at the township building.
Yeah, I know that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. So if it's not good enough for the town, why is it down there?
Well, I don't know why you had it down there.
I'm just asking.
I know. I just know that it must be a real bare drive, that's all I know.
Well, this is only June, I'm gonna suggest we just continue to wait, put it on back burner for a while yet. I mean, why should we spend, I understand that we pay for it, we use the money once it comes in, but it just, I don't think we really need this yet. I mean, granted, I'm not the one who drives the truck, I understand that.
Well, all I'm saying is, you're not gonna just go out there and say, yeah, we'll take that one, because they
Well, I
have to
understand
order it.
that.
And it takes a while to build one and do it the way we want it, and put a dump bed on it, and so forth and so on. So, if you guys wanna hold off, that's fine. We can do that. So if that's what you wanna do, okay.
No, this is my opinion.
I think we got some time yet. We can wait. It ain't winter time yet, I mean,
Well, if we don't get any more snow than we have in the last couple of years, we don't
we
really
really
need
don't
it.
need it. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
so,
so, okay, we'll hold off on it for a while.
is, EJ Water, how's that going? Have you talked to Lee?
No, I haven't, and,
We're in there.
Yeah, I wanna add that, I mean, I'm just asking.
they have,
I'm just asking, since it's new business.
they have put the valve in out there at the park.
I hear.
Out at the park. But,
They have, they haven't.
well, I understand they have.
Okay, I didn't know that, so.
But I thought they had to have that shed first. But evidently, maybe I got it wrong, maybe they have the valve, but they haven't put it in yet. They were waiting on it.
That's the valve that will shut it off whenever it gets full.
It helps maintain the tower level.
Okay.
Okay. So,
What, Marco, what was the other thing that you sent us in the mail? The water, quality or whatever?
Oh, no, that's the TTHM notice, we have to do that, because they average it out over the course of a year, and even though we've dropped it down, you have to double the last number, and then, and add all of them up, and then divide by 4. So it's out at Equity, of course, because that's the longest line.
Right.
They will also be, you guys will also be receiving your, I've got it composed, but I haven't printed it. This consumer confidence report has to be out by July 1st. I've already got it done. It's ready to go to postcards, so instead of printing out the 9 pages, or 7 pages, and I have to include EJ Water in it now, because we're using them more.
Right.
And so that little postcard will have your thing. You know, there is a violation, but that's a TTHM violation, which we've had. We know that.
Which
We
we've
have to-
always had, that.
Right, because in the wintertime when we're not pulling the water, when they're not, we don't have the ideal month to take samples.
Right.
Some towns get ideal, we don't have the ideal situation. We have it in October and January. When do they shut down?
Yeah, January for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious.
as soon as we get anything definite from And I would imagine they're also kind of waiting to see about the grant that Lee was putting in for us. And
I think that's September, they said?
that began in July.
That began in July.
Yeah, but you don't know till September who's, or October like that, yeah. The grant.
So, anyway, yeah, I think David was gonna talk to Dean,
Mhm.
but I don't know if he ever got a hold of him or not. So, we're just at a standstill right now.
I was just curious if you heard anything from Lane.
Well, we know that EPA is gonna tell us that you are going to go with them.
Okay.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but we would like to get all our ducks in a row before we do that, or they would too, as far as that goes. So, anyway.
Also, water related, EJ has opened up their lab
Oh,
for
yeah.
coliforms. This month, we're gonna be taking them there.
Oh,
It's same price as them, as us heading to Manitou, but it's just down the road.
So they have that online now working.
Yes, the lab is online and EPA certified for coliforms, and if there's a, what do you call it? An emergency sample that needs to be done on the weekends, they have a number you call and somebody will meet you there and they'll start the testing. The sample testing, we're Manitou, water plants man 24 hours a day. I don't know about their lab though, that's what I'm trying to figure out. But to me, it's the same price, and they're not going up there, they're going this direction for 15 minutes, you know, so, okay?
Okay. I guess we'll go to if everybody's done discussing whatever you want to discuss, guys. Anybody
Board
else
members got anything?
All right, John something, John K.
John Kraft.
You have 3 minutes.
I watched a couple videos of the last 2 meetings and I was appalled at the way one of the trustees insulted somebody's wife and then the way you called somebody that was here stupid and was uncalled for, and I think you should apologize.
Hold it. What?
You heard me, it's on video. You called him stupid. It's on video. The other thing is I was amazed that you read the executive order that allegedly applies to all of us about the mask and 6-foot distance. I watched last month's meeting, none of you wore a mask. I watched the month before that, none of you wore a mask.
You don't have a mask on either.
I'm not saying I did. I'm saying the last 2 meetings you didn't have a mask, and now you're going to read rules that essentially don't even apply to us. Executive orders don't apply to us. In the April meeting, you initially refused to allow Aaron Beard in. There was only 8 people in here. You claimed a 10-person limit, but you still wouldn't let him in. The sheriff showed up, and then you let him in. You wrote to the AG that Aaron Beard didn't have a mask and refused to wear one. Well, you guys didn't wear one either. So what difference does it make? You complained because it was the board's understanding he was not to be at the meeting pursuant to the executive order. Well, media is exempt from the stay-at-home order. Complained that he repeated practice of interrupting board members. Get a gavel and use it. That'll keep people from interrupting the board members. He complained that he submits voluminous Freedom of Information Act requests. The definition of voluminous is in the FOIA Act, and you can make them pay for them if they're voluminous in the definition. He complained because he did FOIA requests to provide for him at no cost. Well, that's mandated in the FOIA Act. It's not him doing it. State law requires that. You mentioned that he asked for meeting minutes where the meeting minutes and state minutes have been previously produced to him. If that's the case, read the law. You don't have to provide those meeting minutes again because he's already got them from him. And then the meeting, that his camera was outside, he was not trying to tape the closed session. He obviously couldn't hear through the doors. And then somebody went outside and tried to turn his camera, and somebody else went outside and tried to turn the camera off. And he complained because
Your time's up.
he has.
That's enough,
So
your time's
what?
up. Your time's up, you have 2 minutes.
Well, can I finish another 30 seconds, or I can come back next month, that's fine.
Go, 30 seconds.
And finally, whoever put that note on the door alleging new rules on videotaping should probably, go back and read the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, Kirk?
Yeah, Kirk Allen. Can anybody in the board, whether the attorney or anybody, tell me who your Open Meetings Act officer is?
I didn't know we had to have an Open Meeting Act officer.
Okay, can you tell me if anybody has complied with the Open Meetings Act training?
Yeah.
Okay, you have, that'd be great. Whoever put that note on the door, had you done your training, you would have known how out of line that was with the videotaping. It's real simple, it educates everybody, it prevents us as an organization, we do local government accountability. It saves us a lot of time too, because as your attorney is aware, we were ready to take you to court because of the past actions. And there's no need for that if you would do your training and just simply follow the law. In that regard, have you adopted a public comment policy? And if so, can you provide a copy of that policy?
Did I adopt what? I'm sorry.
Has the village adopted a public comment policy?
We used to just automatically, through courtesy, say they could speak at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Isn't that so, Marty?
Sometimes.
Not sometimes, it was every meeting, and you know it, because you were here at every meeting.
Now, the reason I asked that, part of the OMA where it talks about adopting a policy, that policy is what sets the rules. Right now, you're invoking the 3-minute rule. Well, I'm sorry, but you can't do that because you've never adopted a policy. And what's that? I didn't hear you.
I didn't say anything.
Yes, you did.
I was mumbling to myself.
Okay. The law outlines by adopting that policy, it informs the public of what to expect when they get here. So you can't enforce a rule that's been arbitrarily decided by any one person or even a group unless it was done in a public meeting. So the 3-minute rule is out the window, as is the 5-minute before the meeting to give you a sheet. You have an obligation to let anybody at the meeting speak. That's their right under the Open Meetings Act. In regards to the executive orders, just as a point of reference so everybody knows, and this was directly from Attorney General Lisa Madigan citing the Buckwell v. Walker case, the 1974 Supreme Court case. The governor does not have power to legislate by executive order,
Excuse me.
and therefore unless authorized by law, an executive order relating to matters other than executive reorganization can be no more than a policy directive to agencies under the governor's control. That's the Supreme Court case law on this, and we've written about this extensively. These executive orders that these edicts he keeps passing do not apply according to the Supreme Court. And when it finally gets to the higher courts, it'll be shot down, everything's being run to the feds, but these orders are, for the most part, meaningless. He's outside the scope of the Emergency Management Act, and the things that he's invoking are outside those bounds. And I'm confident that if you read the Buckwell or Buckwell, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, v. Walker case of 1974, you will find exactly what we're saying, and Lisa Madigan cites that as part of the law. And they're scrambling to get around it right now, and that's why now everything's a guide or a suggestion, because they've been put in check by the courts and by the case law that we've uncovered over the last 60 days. I would encourage you
At
to
this
take
time, I'll address that. At this time, there are cases that are appealing those issues as to the whole state. There has not been a ruling There's not specifically at this time, you can look at me surprised like you want to, but specifically that's the Clay County case. That's on appeal. Even if you have a ruling that you
The
think...
Clay County case is not on
Sir,
appeal.
just a second, just, sir.
It's not on
It
appeal.
is, it is going on appeal.
No, it's not. It's been passed to the federal courts for a jurisdictional change. It's not on appeal.
There's two cases in Clay County.
If you're talking about the Bailey case, it hasn't been appealed. And the
There's
cases that have been ruled contrary in the governor's favor were on a whole different issue of what within the powers that he has versus executive orders applying to individuals. That has not been argued in a complaint yet.
Once again, at this time, there's cases on appeal, not just this situation in Clay County, there's been also cases up in the Chicago area. There's been other cases on appeal.
Yes, and I read them all.
You know, then, I understand, then let me explain the law to you. And once again, at this time, there's an executive order. There has been no court order specifically concerning these executive orders, which has said these orders are invalid as they apply to all members of the state of Illinois.
Has there been a case that's overturned the Walker case in 1974 that outlines what executive powers he has?
What you're saying is you have a case that you think is precedent. That would be for
Right
the
now.
Supreme Court to specifically say that that case then is similar to the case that's in place.
Shepherdized the case, the law firms have looked at it, now that it's been discovered, we'll see what happens. But the bottom line is,
That's exactly the point, sir, and you made a great point there. We have to see what happens.
but at the same time, we as citizens have every right to exercise our rights. And right
Absolutely.
now, the law that has not been overturned conflicts with what the governor's doing.
And that's what the judicial system then addresses.
That's right, and until they do address it and flip it, those rules are meaningless.
Well, until there's basically a judicial opinion that says those rules are meaningless.
Well, my point overall, I would just ask that you follow the law. And that's real simple. Open Meetings Act is a simple process, adopt a policy, and that way when people walk through the door, they know what to expect. They know what the rules are. And the rules have to be reasonable, and they have to move towards people's engagement and the right to engage in their public meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Beard.
I sent in a request to be notified of meetings back on May 3rd, whenever I thought you guys held a meeting on May 1st due to the agenda. And I'm just curious as to why I was not notified of this meeting pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. And then, also, you guys' response, I'm curious, did the lawyer just pull all of his stuff out of thin air, or did he listen to one of you? Because the videos clearly show a lot different scenario than what I stated.
We made a response based upon talking to the board members, which we did when we filed. We put in writing, and you made a response in writing.
Correct.
Right. So at this time now, the Attorney General, of course, is reviewing that. And at this time, once again, I think we've addressed that issue. We've addressed it in writing, specifically with our responses. You've had a chance to do your rebuttal. And at this time, then, we'll wait to see what the Attorney General says was specifically correct or incorrect. We've even specifically asked the Attorney General if they had concerns that they could have a delegate appear.
Correct. I was just checking to make sure that you got it from the board and you didn't just pull it out of thin air. Because that's what it sort of looked like whenever I was reading through it.
So once again, we've addressed that report. We've done it.
Well, I'm not asking about the report. I was just asking about where you got the information. That was it. And I believe that's all I got to say, other than just curious as to why I wasn't notified.
It's on the board out there, it's in there, it's at the post office.
It's,
There's a section in the Open Meetings Act which I quoted in the email that I sent you. And pursuant to that, I would like to be notified of them.
You have to the floor, go ahead and state then what your basis is, and then we'll get a chance, as anything with the law, we'll review it. So if you have, at this time you're saying that you have made a request, my understanding is as a media personnel?
Correct.
Okay, and once again, this is not saying that you have to, just explain to us, then you can educate us. What's the authority and what's your position and why the requirement is to go ahead and provide this to you?
5 ILCS 122.02, section B, or A, either one. Probably a call.
We've got it on public record, we'll get a chance to review, and if it's a situation where we specifically have more than just public information and notice, then we'll provide that to you.
Okay, that works, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Marty?
I'd like to have a copy of the same papers that the board gets.
You'd like a pet, can't you go through a FOIA request? You're familiar with those, I know you are.
I'm just doing it out of courtesy prior when he asked.
We
for
used
it.
to always give them to you because we were trying to be courteous to you, Marty.
And you're not now?
Well, I think it depends, I mean, specifically what he's asking, here's a good example. Some things the board's going to get are be privileged that he wouldn't be able to have access to. But, sir, you know as well as I do. You know,
You know he's not asking for privileged information.
then that's fine. Then if he's saying.
Well, he's asking for what my board,
If
He's right.
If you want to have the law basically followed, which is what everyone's suggesting here. All we're saying here is, there's no problem then with saying if he has a clarification, I would like to see specifically, what the ordinance was to be passed before. If there's bids then specifically for a project, he has a right to ask for those things. But just to say, I would like to have everything that the board has, you're well as far as I am, that there are certain things that are restricted in our privilege. That's all. Clarification.
You can ask for the board packet.
Yes, but I have a problem because I've seen him, we've always given him a copy of the bills, and then I've seen him take a picture of that. Why doesn't he ask for a
What's
copy?
wrong with that?
Why should he take it and then let him take pictures? Why doesn't he ask for a copy?
I can FOIA a copy and then email it to him. What difference would it make?
Well, I'm just saying, why do they have to sneak around about it?
It's a public record. It makes absolutely no difference whatsoever.
And why would he not tell us who he was, or the first time he ever showed up at one of our meetings, why did he not tell us who he was?
If I may,
Out of a common courtesy.
Listen.
if I may, Mayor, I can address that. If you want to give me the floor, I would like to answer her question.
Go ahead.
I don't know the situation with the gentleman over here, but a lot of times what we experience, there's people that don't want to give their name, and they usually it's localized fear of retribution. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here or implying that. A lot of times that's what we find. That's why a lot of times people will ask us to ask for records. We get them, and then we give them to the people that are asking because they know something we don't, and we're not trying to dive in the middle of something. We're trying to expedite getting them the information that they are literally afraid to ask for. And again, I don't know if that's the case here, but when a person asks for records, if it's a public record and it's not exempt,
Can I ask you a question?
And specific, we know too, once again, it's a freedom of information, and if there's a situation where we think that there is a basis for it to be exempt, then you spell out why you think it's exempt, and the Attorney General then ultimately makes a determination.
Does Mr. Beard, is he associated with you guys?
is who?
Mr. Beard?
Who's Mr. Beard?
No, that just tells me, that answers my question, never mind.
I think, listen,
I've emailed him several times back and forth, so.
I'm sorry, what?
But it doesn't make any difference.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said I have communicated with him several times over the past year, so it doesn't make any difference.
okay. I think what the board is just
And,
saying.
and honestly, that's how we found out that ridiculous rule on videotaping the meetings was taped to the door.
Well, I'm sure.
I think we have a board member who'd like to say something.
Troy, I got a question.
Yeah.
In our packet, we have our executive meeting stuff.
cannot be allowed.
They can't have
Be
it,
allowed.
No.
so they cannot have what's in our packet.
There's certain
Not without board
Now, that
approval
means
for
it's
legal.
restricted. And so,
Or, yeah.
I'll say this in my opinion, for what it matters, for everyone who's allowed here to have their statements, not just specifically then as an attorney, but this is, I've been involved with municipal law and gone to meetings, usually for ordinance violations, usually for, I'm a litigator. The parties who show up here and the people who are elected to your board, for the amount of pay that they receive and for what the work they put in and the time they put in and the dedication they put in, I think is something then that deserves respect. Now, you can have disagreement. You can have political discussion. Frankly, you can have a chance to educate. It's just a situation where, if it's going to be, instead of a situation where it's discussion, if it's confrontation, I think that's where everybody on both sides gets frustrated and gets defensive. So
These board members were elected here. They are here, it's the example I would use, it's like everybody who's ever had children who then wants to complain about the coach or complain about the way the sports are ran.
Yeah.
Get involved. If you're someone, and I'm not trying to cover my mask because I don't want people to know I am. My name's Troy Payne, P-A-Y-N-E, attorney in Vandalia and in Effingham. For someone who's came once again to municipal board meetings for over probably 15 years, county board meetings, hospital board meetings, all the things that are once again making decisions specifically for all of the people here. Whenever there's a dispute and someone then is upset, that's usually when it seems like democracy works the best. That's because that's when everybody shows up. Those same people, we're asking, and this board is asking, and I'm asking, that take a part. If you have a situation where you say, look, I think this is incorrect. I think that this would apply. I think instead of using P-Rock, I think we should use something else. I think all of these board members are willing to hear opinions. All these board members are willing to be educated. And all these board members are basically here trying to better their community. And so, I think even though we do have requirements for the Public Meeting Act, we have requirements for FOIA, which is trying to be met and continue to try to be met. And we also have disagreements on what the state of law is on other matters. I think you also have to put into context then that these are public meetings that show up. You have concerns, you've done research, you have potentially a position that you think the board should adopt. Do it with logic. Do it with research. Do it with coming here and actually being someone who's trying to help democracy instead of using it as a stick to beat people with. Now, I can go back to my situation as a position as the city attorney, but I think that's something that would apply not just for this meeting, but for other meetings, but also for all situations where the public is together, working together. And I know specifically that this is falling on deaf ears, probably on some people. I have no doubt my little speech will be edited out, which they're allowed to do. That's why specifically, like I said, show up, be involved. You want a voice? Be here and have your voice heard.
Public comment on rules, allow me to speak.
Sure, go ahead.
Sign that. I've been to many board meetings. I've served in 2 elected offices. And I listen to you guys say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I have never in my life heard it rush through so fast. I felt no patriotism in this room. I'm not really trying to be condescending. I just didn't get the feeling you guys are wanting to be here and fill your positions. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Additional comments? If not, I guess that's.
Anybody comment?
Anyone else?
Just close it up.
Motion? Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Derek,
I
okay?
have another kind of questions first. You know, I agree with what you said about, we're here to conduct our board meetings the best way we can. Doesn't help when we have people come in here constantly criticize us. As he said, help us. We don't know the rules and regulations completely. You know, I took an open meeting class at. That's been a few years ago. Thing it is, versus, you know, if you have a suggestion, talk to us. Be forthcoming. I think you should be forthcoming as well. I have a few questions. I just don't want it to be rushed like, well, you know, we're going to call costs, blah, 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 this kind of stuff every time we come up with something. My question to Troy here is this. Okay, and we go into executive session, because I don't know this, obviously I'm asking. Now, are they permissible to record us videotape?
No.
How about they take the camera, set it outside?
No, because if they're recording basically a executive sessions are closed to the public. And so the idea is then, you can't have a video recording, you can't have an audio recording, so that there could be, don't read the lips or see what's being said, because specifically, there are certain things under the law which are exceptions to the open meeting requirement, which are allowed in specifically going to an open meeting act.
Okay. Along with that, if somebody continues to video record us, are we allowed to obscure their view?
In that situation, yes. If it's specifically for a closed session, you'd be allowed to, because you'd be enforcing then your right as a public body being able to go into executive closed session.
Okay. Now, are we allowed to ask them to please turn their cameras off if we capture the
Fine.
video recording?
Now, this was just brought to me today, and so I went ahead to look, and what it says here is, there are certain situations where recording is not allowed. But this would be under, it's 5 Illinois Compiled Statute 120/2.05. And it says, subject to provisions of section 8-701 of the Code of Civil Procedure, any person may record the proceedings at meeting required to be opened by the statute. And once again, that goes to specifically being an open meeting, not to a closed session. Now, there are exceptions, exception one of which would be section 8-7. There's one specifically when there has to do with authoritarian hearings, where you're talking about specifically maybe there was a ruling on a adjudicatory hearing about, say, discipline for an employee or certain things like that. And the other thing is this. You have a statute, and then it's what the statute reads, but it's also, as time goes by, more and more restrictions could be either amended, changed, or case law could interpret otherwise. At this point, there is no cases specifically talking about recording. So some things, like everything is the law. That's why attorneys unfortunately always talk about things being engraved sometimes, is sometimes it has to be a judgment call based upon what we believe the law states and what we think case matters. But as someone who's practiced for 20 years in front of numerous judges, one judge can tell you that case is important and matters, and the next judge can tell you that case does not matter and is not important. So, but at this time, once again, unless it specifically is a violation of 5 ILCS 120/2.05, they would be allowed to report an open session of meeting.
But if we go into executive session, they're not allowed for 6.
That's correct. You can't just go into executive session for, we just don't want to be recorded. It'd have to be for one of the exceptions to executive session.
All right. Okay. Another question I have is this. When are you allowed to actually start filming the meeting? So you walk through the door, during, after?
To be blunt, there's no case law on that. I think the question is, when does a meeting truly start? Does it start at the reading of the Pledge of Allegiance? Does it start when people start walking in for discussion? I think it's, once again, it's that situation of, are we trying then to specifically exercise our rights because we want to be able to exercise our rights to cause conflict? Or are we exercising our rights then potentially because we have concerns that parts of the meeting are being discussed outside, or there's some basis, that's reasonable to want to record meetings beforehand? If that's the case, does that mean that he can start following you from your house and drive you all the way from your house to here and say that's a valid purpose? There's the rule of law, but there's also a part that has to have some common sense approach.
Okay.
Any other board members have any questions?
You gonna make it again there? No other further business?
Is everybody done?
I
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Mary seconded. Roll call. Okay, here we go. It's gonna be Danny,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Michael's absent. 4-0, motion carries. Thank you.
I'm going to take over.